Hi there, this is Pastor Mark Siers coming to you from Volusia County Baptist Church. I'm glad to tell you that starting on Sunday, May 10th, we will welcome you back to worship with us here in our church. I'm so excited about seeing each of you again. We understand that some of our most vulnerable members may still feel led of the Lord to worship with us via live stream for a while. And that is perfectly fine. But I hope the Lord will allow many to come back on May 10th. Now, you know, that is Mother's Day, and it will be a wonderful day to come back to church. I want to share with you our plan for your return. First, we will offer 2 Sunday morning services that you can choose to attend. Either an early service at 8:30 or a service at our regular time at 10 o'clock. You see, in this way, I believe that we will be consistent with our governor's direction to restaurants to limit their occupancy to 25%. Since 25% occupancy of our auditorium is around 175 chairs, and we are introducing 2 morning services, we think that families will have plenty of room to be able to comfortably distance themselves in the auditorium for the next few weeks. Second, we will not offer nurseries or Sunday school classes until further notice. Third, we will not pass offering plates or have the choir sing in these early weeks of our return. Families, well, you can sit together in the service, and that's a great thing. And in the 10 o'clock service, and with parents' permission, preschool and elementary children will be invited to the activity building for a special VCBC Kids live event. Mom and Dad chairs will be arranged in a good distancing format for them to sing songs, hear a missionary story, a Bible story. The kids will enjoy seeing Pastor Tim and Eugene, who they've been watching on screen for the last 6 weeks. They're going to have a lot of fun. This will be during the preaching of the 10 o'clock service. Now, let me be clear. The Constitution of the United States makes it illegal for our government to tell a church how to worship. The First Amendment in our Bill of Rights expressly forbids our government from making any law that prohibits the free exercise of religion. This is the bedrock of what our nation was built upon. I want our church to know that I stand for this liberty that is guaranteed to us. The changes that we have made or will make are voluntary on our part for the benefit of God's people and to have a good testimony to the world. As a church, we have tried to distance ourselves from one another in hopes of not spreading the virus in our congregation or throughout our community. In fact, if you remember, it was our own decision, as we sensed flu season was starting to come, that we suspended handshaking and fellowship time in our church a few weeks before a danger was even suggested, or anyone even heard the name Dr. Fauci. Our church submitted in good faith to the President's directive to avoid large church gatherings when he sounded the alarm that our nation was under attack by this invisible enemy. President Trump assembled a panel of medical experts to help him navigate this crisis. And in the beginning, and in the absence of credible data about the virus, no one should fault these medical professionals for projecting the warning of a worst-case scenario. It sounded horrific. But as the impact of the virus subsided, the president wisely delegated the release of the lockdown to the varying needs of each state. Let me tell you, as a Floridian, I am thankful for the leadership of Governor DeSantis, who has not been ashamed to acknowledge God's role in this crisis. He sought counsel from renowned physicians in their fields here in Florida and has exhibited cautious common sense in his decisions, which has fostered confidence in the hearts and minds of Florida's citizens. He readily defended the rights of churches to worship, while asking us to do our part to improvise and innovate so that we would temporarily not have to meet in large groups. Our church was glad to comply, and I rejoice to tell you that our ministries shifted gears and just took another path for a while. We visited the sick from their porch. We took food to the needy and hurting. We wept with those who were sorrowing, fasted and prayed for our nation and leaders. We even led in partaking of the Lord's Supper at home over live stream. Our members volunteered to labor in projects both inside and outside of the church. Our teenagers enjoyed Pastor Tim's new Youth Alive Late Show, combining interactive activities, competition, laughs, and spiritual engagement. Our children, they loved watching Pastor Tim's VCBC Kids broadcast during our Sunday morning worship services. We never skipped a beat. Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Thursday evening, all of our regular church services were live streamed with greater reception than we've ever had before. We had videos from missionaries, heartfelt hellos from church members at home, Bible trivia games, special music singing praises to the Lord, and preaching from God's holy word. I would like you to know that as the pastor of this Bible-believing church, my heart breaks for the suffering and death that has struck thousands of lives in our country and around the world. Families are grieving, and their cries touch the heart of God. Other families have lost their jobs. Young people have lost their dreams of graduation, weddings, and some cannot even bury their dead. This is a time of devastation like we have not seen for generations in this country. True believers in Jesus Christ must continue to fast and pray for God's forgiveness, His deliverance, and His healing to be upon our nation. As your pastor, I feel I should also speak out about some troubling things that I've observed during this coronavirus season. I thank the Lord that measurable data is now showing that the impact of the infection is not as strong as the experts feared. However, some leaders in our country refuse to release the clutch that is strangling the life out of our country. Perhaps there are some underlying reasons beyond medical data why they will not even cautiously begin releasing their states back to work. As we get far enough away from this crisis, we can look back in a panoramic view and spot some dangerous previews that have been shown to our nation during this vulnerable time of chaos and fear. This worldwide pandemic provided an experiment in economic collapse. Who would have thought that a weapon you cannot see and that does not cost a dime could bring the greatest nation in the world to its knees in a matter of weeks? But you know, the best place in God's view for us to be is on our knees before Him. After all, who needs the Lord when our country is experiencing the greatest economy in its history? We have been reminded how quickly and easily it can all collapse around us. This pandemic also provided a sample of socialism right here in the United States. A few months ago, I heard President Trump say that the United States of America will never be a socialistic government. I have to be honest, I cringed when I heard him say the word never. People today are in dire straits, and understandably, they need the government's help to survive because of the orders they could not control. But like Senator Scott said, if we're not careful, people will want to stay home and let the government pay them instead of going back to work. I hope you can see that we have come dangerously close to a complete change in our government without even casting a single vote. This pandemic has also provided a test run for the takedown of traditional government. Do you realize that the laws are already in place, that the Constitution of the United States of America and the Bill of Rights can be suspended in the event of a national emergency? What I mean is, our right to worship as we choose, our right to free speech, our right to bear arms, political elections, separation of powers, and so on, are all on the chopping block at the whim of a sitting president. And just as long as the public is convinced it is necessary and will not revolt, American leadership can do whatever it wants. This pandemic has also provided a course in communication control and church closures. This fourth piece is pivotal to the previous three. Controlling the narrative that the general public hears is essential. You know, a safe place to debate differing opinions is one of the things that made America great. This search for truth is a basic need in all mankind. God is the ultimate source of truth, and our founding fathers knew this. Horace Greeley said, "It is impossible to enslave a Bible-reading people." If there was ever a villainous goal to overthrow our country from within, they would need to silence the Bible-preaching pulpits of America to do it. These 4 steps are a workable strategy that has now successfully been tested throughout the world. What many will not believe is that there is an evil spirit that yearns for world domination and worship. The Bible tells us that one heroic ruler will rise up when the world is in crisis and lead humanity to a global union of nations through which he will promise peace, provision, and protection for everyone on the globe. He will be persuasive, and he will be powerful. The whole world is primed and ready to marvel at the wonders that the Bible says this superhero will perform. Before that happens, though, Jesus Christ is coming back to rapture born-again believers to heaven. God's judgment on the wickedness of mankind is prophesied in Revelation chapter 6 through 19. And God will rain destruction upon the earth despite the power of its heroic world ruler. Christians, don't be surprised, though, if the Lord does allow His true believers to suffer some persecution before the rapture in order to purify His church and revive His church before they vanish to heaven, escape this great tribulation that is to come. This coronavirus crisis, according to prophecy, is merely a rehearsal before the main prophetic curtain goes up. The message to all of us is to not hide in fear, but to lift up our eyes, for our redemption is drawing near. People all around us are looking for answers. They are searching for truth, and they do not know who they can believe. Would you introduce them to the one who is truth? His name is Jesus Christ, and He is still the answer, and He is the soon-coming King. Folks, thank you for letting me open my heart to you. I look forward to seeing each of you very soon. From Volusia County Baptist Church, I hope to see you next Sunday on Mother's Day. May God bless you and keep you in the center of His will.